This is Rob Tabbert for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined finally in lockdown by Kevin Barry, trainer, of course, of Joseph Parker, among others. How are you, Kev?
Rob, I'm doing great, mate, and it's nice to see you sporting the caveman look.
Thanks very much, mate. You actually look very healthy and you look very well groomed. The exact opposite of me.
Hey,
How's it been treating you?
well, you know me, mate. I live very clean, eat very well, are always in the gym, staying in shape. Good, healthy lifestyle, internally and externally.
I think it might have something to do with the fact that Vegas have closed down some of the bars.
Well, I've got a nice bar at my house, so I've actually been spending a bit of time outside.
Well, that's nice. At least you've been able to do that. How are you anyway? How's life in lockdown in Las Vegas?
Look, I tell you what, it's definitely been different. It's been an interesting time, a time to reflect. It's been a very difficult time for a lot of people. I feel very, very sorry for the unemployment numbers over here in America, which I'm sure you're experiencing the same thing in the UK. But over here, with the numbers that have been told to us, we've never ever seen before in the history of our country. It's going to take a little bit of time to get over this, and both myself and then someone like you who's living the sport of boxing inside and out. Well, we're looking at the way this is affecting us, and there has been no events. There's been a lot of gyms closed. There were a lot of boxing cards scheduled that were cancelled, and a lot of these fighters, and I'm talking about the guys that have to invest in themselves, the guys who rely on that paycheck to get through to the next fight. And there's a lot of fighters like that in the sport of professional boxing, and they're the ones I think at the moment who are really hurting. If there is a silver lining for a time like this, it has to be the fact that boxing being such a physically demanding sport, most professional fighters, because of the physicality of the sport, are always carrying some form of an injury. And like some of those injuries never ever go away, and it's just a matter of maintenance. We talked before about resources. Well, a lot of guys can't afford 6 months off. They can't afford 12 months off to get a couple of, a rotator cuff surgery and things to give them a better chance of being more effective in the ring. So hence they've just been, masking the injuries. So this time, I think it's been a time where the last 2 months, a lot of people have been able to give their bodies a rest, and they'll come out of this COVID-19 time feeling more rejuvenated. And I think we'll see a lot of fighters actually get their spark back because they won't be carrying injuries anymore.
Does the same go for yourself as a trainer, Kev? I speak to trainers all the time about injuries.
I am so pleased that you said that. You would be one of the only guys that would identify that. And look, as much as, fighters are carrying injuries, practically every camp, there is something you're working through. Sometimes they're new, and sometimes they're old, nagging injuries. Trainers, their bodies never get a break. And many, many trainers have busted up shoulders. I've had rotators done on both sides. They have damage to their wrists. I've got a plate in my left wrist. So for this, it gives a lot of trainers that chance to just regroup and to freshen themselves up and actually take better care of themselves during this time, because they're not in the gym taking the blows every day.
How's it been like for you spending a little bit more time away from the gym? I know that you've had the gym open with Guido Vianello, which we'll come on to in a bit. Yeah. But I've been very fortunate, privileged to come to your lovely Las Vegas home. met your lovely Las Vegas family. What's it been like spending more time at home?
Look, it's been good. I think the most important thing, it's given you a time to reflect. It's given me a time to actually recharge, to do a lot of studying. I've been watching a bunch of fight tape. I've been looking at training programs, and I've been looking at just little things that I can improve my game on. Like, I know that I'm a very young-looking man, but you know, this year I turned 60. So look, for me, I've got to make these next years really, really work for me, and I need to be the best trainer that I can possibly be. And by doing that, I'm working all the time, not only to try and make my fighters better fighters, but I'm trying to make myself a better trainer.
Are you watching? Obviously, you will be watching specific videos. Is it tailored for, say, potential opponents, or is it just things that you've been looking at from a technical perspective?
A bit of both. I've got a couple of big fights coming up. I'm sorry, mate. That's very unprofessional of me, isn't it?
It is. You're lucky I'm not there. I'll give you a slap.
When do you ever know me not to have my volume turned off on my phone? Sorry about that, Rob.
That's okay,
mate.
You're okay.
Okay. Now, look, obviously, a big fight for me is I've got Umar Salamov from Chechnya fighting Maxim Vlasov. It's one of the fights in the four-way box-off for the WBO light heavyweight title that Canelo vacated. So, I've been doing a lot of study of Vlasov. And it's been good for me to have that time and to help structure a game plan now. Umar's back in Chechnya right at the moment. They're well into Ramadan. Probably get one FaceTime call with him a week, and it's just for him to tell me how much he misses me and misses camp. And then I tried in my pidgin Russian to tell him, look, it's a crazy time, and we were supposed to fight. Bob Arum had him fighting early July. Well, that'll be pushed back now. But to answer your question, I've been looking at that. I've been looking at some previous fight tapes of Joe's, and identifying patterns that really work for us and others that not so much. So it's been good to have this extra time to be able to do that.
Before we come on to talking about Joe, let's talk about the current situation in Las Vegas. I spoke to Bob Arum a couple of days ago now. He said to me that the plan for Vegas is to move forward and start taking fights either in Vegas, obviously outside of Vegas, California, Texas, as we move forward. What's the current situation with regards to the lockdown in Las Vegas?
Well, in the boxing world or in general?
General, both.
In general, well, Governor Sisolak addressed Nevada yesterday, and we are opening the restaurants up, the hairdressing salons, not the gyms, not the bars, not the clubs, not the movie theaters, but we're taking small steps. And for a city that relies heavily on the tourism dollars, we have to get things open. But it's very, very important that when we do open things up, that we open them up in a very safe, correct manner. We can't have people being reckless at a time like this, because it is very, very evident that if people think that things are all over, we will come unstuck in a big way. Like America this morning is just on 75,000 people have died here, and we've got I think over 40 states are now opening in some form. So the biggest concern is going to be what is going to be the effect of people going back to work. We know they have to, but it's got to be done in a very safe manner, or this problem that we're having with the coronavirus is going to drag on for a very long time.
With regards to boxing, what have you heard with boxing coming back to Vegas?
Well, interestingly enough, I got a call yesterday asking, what sort of shape Guido was in. He was very unlucky that when all the shows began to fall over and get cancelled, we were a week and a half away from fighting, and he had sparred 92 rounds of sparring. And he's a young guy who's very early into his career, 6 of those 6 KOs, but a guy who in those 6 fights in the short time was really taking some big steps. And he was sparring, he did a lot of rounds with Joseph Parker. He did a bunch of rounds with Tyson Fury. He did a lot of rounds with Joe Joyce. So we're talking about good quality sparring. And I felt I was really, both myself and my son Taylor were very excited with the progress that he'd been showing us for his first fight in 2020. And, so for him to be put on the sideline, it was pretty rough for him. But he's the sort of guy that even during this time, Joe was lucky that he was able to get back to New Zealand. We had that fight at the end of February. Umar had just signed a new deal with Top Rank, and he had gone back to Chechnya. And Guido, with the problems that they were experiencing in Italy, there was no way that he could go home. So, he has stayed here and he's made the most of it. He said, look, I'm not just going to have a holiday. He's been training Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And he actually, right at the moment, I threw him on the scales 2 days ago, and he's sitting on his fight weight. So the only thing that we need to do before being in top shape to fight is to get some sparring rounds in again. But hopefully things are going to start opening up. I know that Top Rank are very keen to get things going again, to get some not massive cards, but cards of maybe 5 fights, putting them in front of in a TV studio or a small venue with no crowd, and that'll be an experience on its own. But I know that Bob and the people that work with him, Todd the Buff, they've got a very good plan in place to start professional boxing up again in a very structured, a very safe manner.
So we've mentioned him briefly in this interview, but I guess we have to give him a bit of a build-up now. The viral sensation, Joseph Parker. Now, we obviously have known Joe a lot longer than I have, but I've known Joe for a few years now, and I've seen him around the gym and spent a lot of time with him. For me, it's lovely to see that playful, gregarious side of him coming out, and it's now being shared with quite literally millions of people.
I tell you what, that playful Joseph Parker, that's the guy I've always known. Joe's always been a fun-loving, friendly guy. In fact, like everyone who meets him, and Joe and I have been together, working. He's been with me for a little over 7 years now, and everyone that comes across him, they see that in his personality, and it's great at a time like this where not just the sporting public, but just the public in general, they're so starved of things to watch, and of course Netflix has blown up, and even myself, I watched 3 series of Ozark, and which was, I've never seen so much murdering in my life. But I mean, and I'd never watched the show on Netflix before that. So for Joe to come out and to do these short videos, it's nothing short of genius. It's kept him very, very relevant. He's entertained a lot of people. I think there are a lot of other heavyweight boxers out there who are actually a little jealous of Joe's talents. And they're very jealous of the recognition and the publicity and the marketing that the brand of Joseph Parker has been getting through this time. And, even in New Zealand, where Joe is a major star, he is now the, everyone in New Zealand, whether you're a boxing fan or a sporting fan or not, it has been huge for his profile there. I know in the UK, he's done a number of interviews. I probably get 3 requests a week for interviews for Joe, and that most of his requests are coming straight to him anyway, but I get 3 that I have to pass on. The one that he released last night, it's already got nearly 60,000 views in a matter of hours. So people are loving his work, and they're waiting. And some of the people that I'm talking to on the phone are saying, what's Joe's next one? When's it coming out? So look, it's been great for his profile, and it's going to really help us when we do line up a fight, and we get Joe back in the ring with the gloves on, because the boxing business is one that's very much geared by the marketing and the promotion, and the fact that Joe has worked very, very well with Kerry Russell, the videographer. Kerry's a very, very clever man, and one thing I'll just say to you, the stuff that's being produced, you would think. The work that's gone into it, when you've got you've got Tyson Fury on some things, and Michael Buffer and Eddie Hearn ringing Joe up and saying, because Joe asked Eddie to be on one, he didn't want to, and then when he saw what it was like, he goes, I need to be on the next one. But you would think that we had a film crew doing this. One man, Kerry Russell, has done the whole thing. From filming to orchestrating to producing to directing, and once again it really emphasizes that a little country like New Zealand has some very, very talented people, and Kerry Russell is definitely one of those.
Just to kind of back up what you've been saying, my mum actually sent me one of Joe's videos, and she said, "Do you know this boxer? I really like him."
Isn't that cool?
I know.
Because now that sort of sentiment, I think, has been replayed over and over again, tens of thousands of times, and we're hoping that that's going to generate into more pay-per-view buys. Joe with his Team Parker apparel line, it will help. And just for his overall image, this has been a very, very positive time for him.